Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of Viewers' Comments and Questions, the show where I answer your questions and your comments that you leave in the previous episodes. So by now, you all should know, if you want to be in episode 4, leave a comment below on this video or a question, and it may be selected for next week's episode. Without further ado, though, we'll get started right now and answer your questions.
Is there a horror film that your wife is a bigger fan of than you are?
Yeah, she certainly is a bigger fan of some stuff more so than me. She likes the 30s, 40s, and 50s movies a lot more than me. Now, I do like that era. I'm starting to really appreciate that era even more now but she certainly grew up liking the Phantom of the Opera and the Bride of Frankenstein. I think Bride of Frankenstein is her all-time favorite movie. If it's not that, it's probably Frankenstein, one of those two, but I know she loves Bride of Frankenstein. And you know, I remember when we go to the stores and stuff, she'll get aggravated because they portray all of the merchandise like it's a love story, and it's really not a love story between those two. Matter of fact, the Bride and Frankenstein are only in the movie together for a short period of time. So I get the aggravation with that. It's kind of like the Beatles, right? They're more of just a brand now. More people just wear Beatles shirts but probably couldn't name 5 songs. It's the same thing with that movie. But she loves that old stuff a lot. So certainly she likes some horror movies more than me.
Dude, have you ever been told you bear a striking resemblance to Christian Bale? Freddy rules.
Thank you for the compliment. No, honestly, you know who I get told I look like more so than anybody is Stallone. I look like Sylvester Stallone. That's the one that I get told a lot. Most people, I've had people stop me on the street, say, "Dude, you look just like Rocky," like, because you know. As a matter of fact, I was kind of born the same way as him. When I was born, I think I got stuck a little bit coming out of my mom. Not to get too morbid, but I have slight paralysis on this side of my face, so one of my eyes don't open as wide. It's hard to notice it, but I have slight nerve problems on one side of my face, and he has it on his mouth, so that's why he has the droopy mouth. So, but I'll take that. Christian Bale's a good-looking guy.
Where did you get your Nightmare on Elm Street 4 stand display, and what movie would you want a display for in the future? Cam. Big fan, love the channel.
So the Nightmare 4 display, yeah, I got that. I can't disclose too much because it was done privately through messages and stuff. I had a great guy named Sean Beard, who I'm great friends with, reached out to me and say, "Hey, I found this guy whose family owned video stores and worked in video stores, and he has an accumulation of these video store stands. And I told him about you. I want you to get in this. This is kind of like an underground thing. He's not promoting this yet. It's just certain people. He's got these for sale." I got an amazing price for that and the Part 2 one, which are both in the horror room. Now, after this, he then went public on the internet, on eBay, I think, to sell his. So it was a private guy who had some. What video store display would I want next? Any other Nightmare on Elm Street ones. That's the only kind of displays I would really want to have. Obviously, I'd love to have a Part 3, a Part 5, a Freddy's Dead one, any other Nightmare display, but I have no room for them, so I'm really happy with my Part 4 one and my Part 2 one.
Would you like to see Scream Factory do Blu-ray box sets for the Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play franchise, like they did for Friday the 13th? Also, love the content. Great
question. I not only want, but I expect the Nightmare on Elm Street box set to happen. It's too well deserved. You can't do Friday the 13th without Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I've said before, it's just un-American. So we need the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, and here are the standards that I have for it. 4K scans for 1, 2, and 3. I think that's fair. I'm not going to ask for 4K scans of all of them. 4K scans for 1, 2, and 3. I would like at least full 1080p for 4. And for Part 5, I want uncut Blu-ray, upscaled as much as possible, full 1080p with upscaled HD inserts of the deleted scenes. I'll take a 2K scan for Freddy's Dead with real Blu-ray 3D. I'll take a 2K scan for New Nightmare. If not, a full 1080p is fine. And you can leave out Freddy vs. Jason. I've already got it. So not only do I want it, I expect it, and those are my demands. Do I think that Child's Play needs a box set like that? Not necessarily. I think that the people really just want collector's editions, Blu-rays of Parts 2 and 3. I think that's really what the people really want from talking about this. You know, they've done some Universal titles. You know, Scream Factory did Phantasm 2, so they could possibly do Child's Play 2 and 3 in the future. Who knows? I mean, a box set would be nice, sure, but I think people really want collector's editions of Parts 2 and 3.
I'm in love with all the horror insights you have. Please keep it up. What is your favorite NECA or McFarlane figure off the top of your head?
Thank you for the love. Favorite McFarlane stuff is probably just the classic figures. I've got, like, it looks like a fish bowl, like a fish tank. It's got Freddy versus Jason in it. That's probably my favorite. I have that. That's from, like, the late 90s. So I love that piece. You know, that's a really cool piece. But the McFarlane stuff is great. They're classic. They were really cool for their time. Great memorabilia pieces for collections. I've got the Michael Myers McFarlane, and that's great too. But the Freddy vs. Jason, like, fish tank, I have that. I love that.
What is your favorite underrated 80s horror movie? And your channel is number 1.
Oh boy, underrated 80s movie. It's so hard because what does underrated mean? This is the thing about underrated. I feel like I have a different definition than the way it's used. I think a movie that is underrated is, you know, a movie that is truly well made, truly well acted. It's just a well made film that doesn't get talked about a lot. But the thing is, there are some movies that everybody will talk about in a breath, like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, for instance. I wouldn't call it underrated by any stretch because everybody knows and talks about the movie. But if somebody just says it's underrated, I think what they mean is they think it's a really well-made film and deserves more love than it gets in terms of rankings. But for me, an underrated film is a movie that doesn't get mentioned much at all. So I would say, you know, something like I'm racking my brain. I really am. I really am racking my brain. I think maybe Blood Diner is underrated. I think that's a really great 80s gem that needs more love. It needs to be more popular. Cavity Color should be doing shirts of that. So let's go with Blood Diner. I think Blood Diner is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
So glad I found your channel. I love the Friday the 13th series, as well as the Nightmare on Elm Street. Which of the two do you think has a better first installment?
Well, Michael, if you've been watching my channel long, you'll know that my #1 franchise in the planet is A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think objectively, there are more Friday fans in the world than Nightmare on Elm Street fans. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's probably 2 to 1.5 or 2 to 1. It's close, but I think Nightmare on Elm Street is the greatest horror franchise in the world. It was certainly the most popular in the 80s. If you look at the box office, while the Fridays were doing good in the box office, especially parts 6 and 7, they were still making 19-20 million. Nightmare on Elm Street was just insane. I think part 4 made $50-something million. And even part 5, which wasn't as successful, still obliterated Jason Takes Manhattan in the theater. So I think that Nightmare on Elm Street was probably the most popular in that time, when in its heyday. But there are probably more Friday fans still till this day. But Nightmare is my #1. It's my favorite franchise in the world. Freddy is my boy.
Christmas Evil is one of my all-time favorite movies ever. Can't wait for the review. Here's my question. Who would win in a fight between Rumpelstiltskin and Leprechaun? And despite your answer, who do you prefer?
I think Leprechaun would probably win, considering he's got all the magic and tricks and stuff, but I like Rumpelstiltskin better. I know that may be sacrilege. I just think Rumpelstiltskin is an amazing film, and the fact that it has no sequels and nothing else, and it's kind of hidden, makes me like it more. You know what? Whoever asked me it was underrated, I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm moving forward in my mind. Rumpelstiltskin is an underrated horror movie. Rumpelstiltskin. But I prefer Rumpelstiltskin, Sean. Rumpelstiltskin is the man.
Congrats on 10K subscribers. If you had to pick a favorite director out of Romero, Carpenter, Argento, Fulci, Craven, Cunningham, or Barker, who would it be and why?
Well, George Romero is my #1 favorite director. I love how he can really just tell a story and really just, you know, let characters breathe in his movies. I think he is the best. So George Romero is my favorite director, but I mean, Carpenter has to be my second favorite, you know, if not to the 1.5 to George Romero's 1. Carpenter's a god. I just love how his practicality in shooting movies somehow translates to this artful style that everybody interprets from his movies. But everything he does is practical and just reasonable. But the music he makes is what really gives those movies those elements that make them seem so artful and imaginary. Carpenter's a god. He's a god. Simplicity. He is the AC/DC of horror, and I love him for that.
What is your favorite movie in the Conjuring franchise? Love the channel and all of the videos.
Favorite movie in the Conjuring universe? That's a great question. I'm gonna go with Conjuring 2. I really like that one. I thought that one was really imaginative. I thought that one really added some elements that I really liked. The first Conjuring was good, but you know, it was a movie that we hadn't seen. We hadn't seen nothing new in that movie. It was not a movie that we hadn't seen a dozen times before, but I love the elements that were added to Conjuring 2. So Conjuring 2 is probably my favorite in the universe.
Do you believe it's inevitable that someday physical media will no longer be there to purchase anymore other than by secondhand purchasing through places like eBay? And if this does happen, do you believe the physical copies that are owned out there will become valuable collector's items or completely worthless? P.S. Absolutely love your channel and watch every new episode that becomes available. Keep up the awesome work. You know, you guys are so nice. I love y'all.
Oh boy, the physical media question. I've talked about this at great lengths on the show Region Free that I do with Pizzal and Friends. I think that it's hard, you know. I think that physical media is not gonna just disappear. It'll dwindle and dwindle, and maybe get down to just one format or so. I think it'll become more so online in the future rather than going to stores and getting it. I think that the boutique labels will do okay for a while. I think I do think that there's a number of fans that can keep these companies afloat for some time. It's hard. It really is hard to say. I don't think physical media will just disappear. I think it will dwindle and dwindle and become less mainstream, okay? And become less available in stores. But I don't think it's going to disappear. Now, I think that I don't think that they'll become unvaluable. No, I think that, you know, you'll probably, I mean, God almighty, go online right now and try to find I got the Slumber Party Massacre 2 and 3 double pack from Scream Factory. Go see how much that cost right now on eBay. So just keep supporting it, please, guys. Keep supporting physical media.
Stoked to have my question answered and have Victor make the thumbnail even. This is quickly becoming my favorite channel on YouTube. Question: would you rather live the rest of your life with Freddy's glove permanently attached to your hand or Jason's mask permanently attached to your face?
I can't cover this face. I have bad enough vision as it is, so I'll take Freddy's glove any day of the week. I will take Freddy's glove, and nobody will mess with me. I'll walk down Manhattan Boulevard all night, 2 in the morning. Who's going to mess with me? Well, I guess if they have a gun. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for your comments and questions. Okay, drop yours below to be in next week's episode, and it just may make it. This is Christian Hanna Horror saying get ready for some Christmas movie reviews. We've got Christmas Evil coming up, Silent Night coming up. I may as well show this right now. I got a few movies in. Blade 4K, Superstition, Dungeon Master, and Eliminators, excuse me, and The Vagrant, which is going out of print from Scream Factory, starring Bill Paxton. Had to get that for Bill Paxton. Love him. Love you guys. See you next time.